on your mic.
Yep.
Well, that answers that. I was going to ask if the recording was started, so it sounds like it is. It's 9 a.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order, the WIFA Water Supply Development Committee. And we'll start off with a little roll call vote to see who's here. Mr. Ted Cook. Here. Patrice Horseman.
Present via the Zoom.
Great, thank you. Drew John. Here. Pete Kim is not here. Jonathan Lines. All
I'm
right.
here.
And Buchanan Davis, I'm here. Quorum is confirmed, roll call is complete. As a reminder, remember to identify yourself when making a motion or requesting to speak, and make sure you're unmuted as you speak or when you're taking votes.
And I will note for the record too, Mr. Kim has just joined.
And Mr. Kim just joined us. We'll put that on the record. Thanks, Pete. Agenda item 2, disclosures of conflicts of interest. Any disclosures?
Morning, Joe Satelli, General Counsel. No disclosures have been submitted for today's meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Agenda item 3, Director's Report. I'll pass it over to Director McGuire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It'll be a short report because we're going to cover most of it throughout the agenda items. But do just want to note that you will see a couple of applications on this agenda that you've seen before. There are applications that this committee chose to table at the last meeting, some of which that was the reason for that was needing some more information, needing some clarity from the applicant. And some of it was just your desire to come back and speak a little bit more about what your goals for this program were. And so we'll talk about that more in our resolution discussion, which is coming up after the PPL discussion. But we're hoping that the agenda we've given you today reflects that discussion in the study session, reflects the intentions that you've all given us for the program. And we look forward to getting some of these projects to the board at its next meeting in August.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Chelsea? Great. Then we'll move to the agenda, the regular agenda items, which is now moving to 4. Recommendation to adopt FY 2026 Water Supply Development Fund Project Priority List. Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will give a brief overview of the updates made to the Water Supply Development Priority List. I will note, since this is the first priority list for the fiscal year 2026, we are going to ask that you make a recommendation to the board. And then at the board meeting in August, we will ask that they adopt this as the official FY 26 project priority list. We can go to the next slide here. So we've had 2 new applications come in recently for the water supply fund. We additionally had 2 applicants remove 2 of their applications from consideration. Those notes are included in the committee materials on the first page of this agenda item, along with some of the changes made to the existing applications within the list. In total, we have almost $95 million in requests, with $61.8 million in grant funds and $33 million in loan funds being recommended from staff. To note that the grant amount of $61.8 million is over that $60 million limit that we have set for the amount of grant funds available in this funding right now. So something important to keep in mind. We will have pending still for your review $34 million worth of applications at this committee meeting today. We'll have $10.5 million. So definitely working through this list quite efficiently, and looking forward to hearing about the projects. On the next slide here, we have just all of the pending applications. Those projects highlighted in blue are the ones that we will be presenting on today's agenda, and then all of the white projects are ones still pending the committee's consideration. We do still have that dark line on there indicating where there's no longer the grant funds available. We do have 1 project below that line, as they're not being recommended for any grant funds on your agenda today. And I believe that's all my notes for you. So as I stated, though, we are looking for someone to make a recommendation to adopt this as the fiscal year 2026 project priority list.
Any questions for Lindsay on the project priority list? Comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion.
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
Move that the committee adopt the fiscal year 2026 water supply development project priority list as presented.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I will second that.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no additional discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Thank you, Lindsay. All right, now we're moving on to agenda item 5, which is our first project for today. This is a recommendation for approval of resolution 2026-008 Water Supply Development Fund. Sustainability, let's see. Director McGuire will lead us.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. So you can go to the next slide, Ben. A little bit of background for this committee. So at your last meeting, which was actually a study session of the committee, we discussed a previous resolution regarding Water Supply Development Fund sustainability. That resolution was the one that set us down the course that we're currently on of the 60% loan, 40% grant aggregates for the distribution of the fund. It's kind of been the guiding principle that we've used going forward on this current round of applications. At the study session, we discussed whether this committee's and this board's intention was to continue down that path or whether it was to make some changes and the timing of those changes and those continuations. This resolution draft, and I do want to emphasize, it is a draft, so we are here for you to make recommendations for modification, to change, to make sure that it does this accurately. But the goal of this resolution was to reflect the sentiments and the directives that you gave staff at that study session. In order to do that, there's really just a couple of major highlights that I would say, if this draft passed, this is what would happen. So the first thing it would do would be to treat all of the applications on the current PPL, so that's the list that you just approved, under the current scoring criteria. So that means the current application, the current point system and distribution, and the current 60/40 loan grant aggregate. There's an asterisk on current PPL because another thing we wanted to do, I think the committee's intention was that applicants who are relying on this particular scoring system and have good reason to do that can go forward with the scoring system. So we wanted to create a certain date by which applications need to be submitted under this current scoring system. Admittedly, it's just a date, right? It's one that we came up with, that we looked at staff bandwidth, that we looked at our current application demand and how quickly or how slowly they've been coming in. So under this resolution, we would say every application we receive on or before August 29th will be scored under the current guidelines in the current system. If that's a date you'd like to modify or change, we're happy to do that. So that's the first thing that the resolution draft would do. The second thing that it would do, based on the feedback that we heard from you all, would be to extend the additional interest rate discount that we currently have in place. That's actually a third resolution. It's one that we passed back, I think, last December. And we said, in order to incentivize more applications to come in order to make this debt more manageable for even the smallest and most least creditworthy systems, on top of the interest rate discount that they're already getting because of their financial assistance index, we're taking another 25% off of that. This would extend that to the current PPL, meaning everything on the list right now up until August 29th. And I did receive approval from Denise before I put this in the resolution, so I'll make that very clear. And then it would also direct this committee, and therefore your staff, to make final recommendations regarding all of those applications. So again, everything on our list right now, plus anything we receive in August, by the end of 2025. That felt like the right amount of time for staff to have to prepare these and do our due diligence to make sure we bring them to you appropriately, but also for the applicants on that list to ensure that they have the time to put together their PFA and go back and forth with staff and make sure that that's complete and correct. that's sort of how we would treat the current PPL, and that's what's codified or would be codified in this resolution. The other thing this resolution would do is direct your staff to bring you our new scoring system for your consideration by the end of this year. So not only would we be clearing out the decks of our current PPL, we would also have in place by the end of the year the new rules, what everybody else or what every next applicant would need to know or need to participate in order to be a part of the Water Supply Development Revolving Fund Financial Assistance Program. We didn't want to bring you something in this meeting. We have talked about it. We do have sort of a skeleton draft and an outline, but we wanted to ensure that all of the feedback you gave us was appropriately considered, that you have time to take a look at that feedback, probably over the course of a couple of meetings, to make sure we get it right or as close to right as possible before going through. So that's why we gave ourselves some time, and also by default gave you all some time as well. The final thing that I'll highlight in this resolution draft that we heard in feedback from the committee is that it would maintain the cap on grant funds at 40%. That may be a bit of a misnomer, because by the end of this PPL, we won't have grant funds available, right? We are looking at the full 40% on grant that would be expended under this PPL. But that would be in the hypothetical or in the hopeful scenario where there's additional funding infused into the program, where we're starting to collect interest on the loans from the program. We would still maintain the cap and maintain the expectation that no more than 40% would go out in the form of a grant. That doesn't mean this committee would have to recommend 40% grant, but that would be the cap at which they needed to recommend that. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions, entertain any discussion about modifications that need to be made, make sure that this does accurately reflect what you all told us at your last meeting.
Any questions for Chelsea? I guess I have one initial one. You know, if we went down this as described, and we got handful of applications, let's say in September and October, how have you contemplated that you would treat those applications? Would you just sort of be upfront with the applicant, that we're figuring out when sort of the next tranche will be, and talk through sort of what that would look like?
That's a great question. And Lindsay, correct me if this is not our intention, but what I think our intention would be is actually to close applications for that time period, because the current application that is available would not reflect the new scoring system. It would not reflect the new intentions of the committee. So we would, on our webpage and in other communication to potential applicants, say, this is when we anticipate the next application will be available, probably January 1st, 2026. You're welcome to look at the current application, give you an idea of the kind of information you need, but this will not be the accurate scoring. So we would begin accepting applications again after January 1st.
Gotcha. Great. Other comments or questions on this? Does this sound all right to the committee? Where are you all at?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
So I appreciate your question. That clears up one thing. I don't have any other questions, but just a comment. I think the staff did a great job of reflecting, at least my understanding of what the preferences of the committee were going forward. It ties a nice bow on the current funding cycle. With respect to the dates, I think the December 31st date is more than adequate to allow us to wrap this up, with keeping the scoring and the other rules the same for both the applicants that are in process and any other ones that might come in between now and the proposed end date, which is at the end of August. Now, that particular date, some might say this is too short. It's basically 30-day notice. But this funding cycle has been open for a long time already. So I would be okay with moving that out, but I don't feel any need to do that. I think August and December works really well. And then give the staff also to the end of the year to do what we asked and review the scoring algorithm, for the next time around, the interest rates, other things that we have asked them to look at and come up with something solid for our consideration for the next round. So I'd be prepared to vote yes on this as is today.
Thanks for those comments. Are there other comments?
I would agree with that assessment.
Right. Is that Jonathan?
Yes.
Thank you. Chairman Lyons. And I'm very comfortable how you outlined it as well. I think you captured it. And, I think in those months between August and end of the year, have some time to continue to think about, what the next funding cycle could look like. And I'd be interested to know sort of when, applicants reach out and what sort of feedback we're hearing from them and the appetite there and, that sort of thing too. So I think that gives us a few months to do some data collecting, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think this is a reasonable balance, keeps things in place while we make motions towards the new policies. I think the most important thing will be what those final recommendations regarding the updated scoring system will be. I'll be very interested to kind of see how those things reflect some of the feedback that we've had in the past. But I think for now, this is the right move to move forward in a judicious but expeditious fashion.
Great.
If I may, Mr. Chair, Patrice.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Patrice, go ahead.
and I agree with the comments that are being made. I think it does. I think the staff did a great job of being able to collect and to put in the resolution the comments that have been made earlier. I think it looks really good. I'm not sure if we need further deliberation on it, although that would be fine, but it sure does reflect the comments we made. And I would be in favor of passing this resolution as is as well.
Oh, thank you, Patrice, for those comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Drew John, I want to, I wasn't here for the study session, but looking through this and reading through this, very well written, very considerate, I think. And with that being said, I'd like to make the motion that we approve resolution 2026-008, water supply development revolving fund sustainability.
All right. We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Carol, second.
Mr. Cook seconds. Any other further discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstained? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks for that. Now we'll move into our first project. I think I said that on the last one, but forgot we had that discussion to be had. So now we'll move into agenda item 6, which is the recommendation for approval of financial assistance resolution 2026-002 Clay Springs Domestic Water Improvement District. Lindsay, take us through.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as a reminder, this project should look somewhat familiar to you as we presented a similar project in May 2025 to the committee. The committee did table this project to have the applicant work on amending the scope of the proposed project to see if they could qualify for more favorable financial considerations. So after that meeting, the WIFA staff did work with the applicant. We amended the scope of the project to include additional infrastructure to support adding connections, additional customers on and extending services to an unserved portion of the district in order to qualify for the 75% financial index and a recommendation from staff of 100% grant in just over $1.9 million. So the scope was revised to remove the addition of the water storage tank and then to add the costs associated with extending the water services to those unserved households. We have updated the due diligence to reflect that scope change. They currently, for their financial capabilities, they have 2 WIFA loans. Both are in good standings. We did note that they've had some raises to their water rates, both in November 2025 2023 and again in 2024. However, their ability to take on debt remains limited, and they are looking at further adjustments, including a possible property tax levies to better support their system, since they will continue to see increasing operation and maintenance costs, which limits their ability to take on debt. We should have the applicant representative, Blake Anderson from Mogollon Water, available for any questions from the committee. And that's all I have for you.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. First, are any questions for Lindsay? I want to thank you and staff working with the applicant. I know there's some back and forth on the last time and get to a spot where it fits better under some of our criteria. And so I really appreciate the work that's been done on this one. But so I appreciate where we've gone with it, but that's me. But other comments, questions for Lindsay?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
So I guess this is a question, just to make sure that I understand what has changed from the application that we saw a couple of months ago until now. And I think it was pretty clearly stated in the material that we received. The desire of the applicant was to obtain a more favorable financial treatment. I guess were the words I just heard, something like that. And the amount of the total project has remained about the same, $1.9 million, but it has gone from a roughly $800,000 grant and $1.1 million loan type, which is what came in the last time, to 100% grant this time, which is fine. If the project qualifies, the project qualifies. And how it got to that point was to update the scope of the project as the committee directed the staff last time to work with the applicant. And the two big pieces that changed was to remove the new storage tank and to include some extra work to serve a community within the boundaries of the district that is currently either on a well water or hauling water or not having any water, I guess. And that's fine. That's a good thing, particularly if it's possible to get folks off of well water. That being said, in my opinion, the response from that community is kind of underwhelming, and on the face of it, while the rules are the rules and this is the outcome of the process, having only 13 connections and of the potential connections, and of those only 9 residents expressing a desire to actually connect is underwhelming. And to basically get to this point on a $2 million project that now is eligible to be fully funded on a grant. I would love to find a way, and I'm not going to vote no on this necessarily, just to try and get this to happen. But I would love to find a way to get even the remaining 4 folks that said no, they're not interested in being connected, to get off their wells. And I appreciate that might be in the short term. Maybe there's no data in the application about this, but I'm guessing that's probably because that's cheaper to pump a well than to have a connection. That might be a good thing in the short term for those users, but it's not a good thing for the community in the long term to keep pumping those wells. So I would like to see more effort, or a commitment to more effort from this applicant to try and expand that area. That basically the thing that made a difference between grant funding and predominance of loan funding was this one little community, and it's almost like the juice isn't worth the squeeze on this. But the rules are the rules. It meets the criteria. So I'm not going to hold it up on that basis. And I don't know if the applicant has any comments on that regard.
Yeah, let's see if Blake, is Blake available? Is he online?
I'm here.
Blake, do Can you respond to that and some of the efforts you took to reach out to potential connections?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank staff. This has been a lot of back and forth, and they've just been phenomenal to work with and patient as we kind of navigated this. Um, we took over operations of the Clay Springs Water District in 2022, and so since then, we've had a number of customers that have reached out for this specific section of line, whether they were purchasing property or they had existing property that was there and they wanted to establish service for the first time, or they've had issues with their wells, like you said. The numbers that we provided are based on customers that we were able to reach back out to or had contacts with, and get them to give us like a firm commitment, just with the application timeline. But just in the time since we submitted our PFA, which is 4 or 5 weeks ago, I had a customer reach out last week to us. Off of Cemetery Road, if you're looking at a map that's just off the eastern side of the line that we're extending to the north, that wants to tie in. And so I anticipate that if you build the infrastructure, those vacant properties will develop around there. But individually, the property owners haven't been able to extend it that far. And so I think that there's a realistic path to get 25, 30 properties connected to this line once we're all said and done. But individually, nobody has the capital or the wherewithal to extend the main that far. It's tough building infrastructure in a rural environment. If you look at on a map, there's these big 1,000-foot wide properties, and so you have to run 1,000 foot of main to get from 1 meter to the next. It's tough to find a way to make it economical and still meet current construction standards. That's how they built the Clay Springs district in the first place. Was from what I hear, is just running graders down the side of the road and laying in 2-inch PVC. But it's a lot more cost effective, obviously, to do that, but you can't build a water system like that in this day and age. So, but great comments. You summed it up well, Ted.
Thanks for that, Blake. Any further on that?
No, thank you. It's disappointing, but I understand the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And knowing some of that area, like you said, Blake, on that north side of town, there's quite a bit of land that's being developed. And so I think as that goes forward, as people build homes or subdivide or whatnot, the opportunities to connect could be, if I hear what you're saying, you anticipate that there could be a lot of interest as you start to build it out.
As currently subdivided, we see about 27 potential properties. We listed the 9 that we talked about as people who have reached out to us just in the past few years that we're aware of. Like I said, we just had a couple reach out to us in the past week or two just by happenstance. But we anticipate that number growing. We didn't want to include in the application an overcommitment or say, hey, there's a potential for this many. These are the ones that we feel fairly confident that will be connected, and we just anticipate that number to grow from there. But we like to be conservative in what we're presenting.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Other comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, we do have a request to speak.
Okay, we have a request for, if there's no other comments or questions from the committee, we can go to the request to speak.
David and Catherine Smith have requested to speak. They're local homeowners. David or Catherine, if you are online, go ahead and use the raise hand function and I can unmute you. Mr. Chair, I don't see them online, but they did submit some written comments that I will read into the record.
Okay.
David and Catherine Smith, residing at Graphite Road in Clay Springs, are in support of and willing to hook up to the new water system here in Clay Springs. Sincerely, David and Catherine Smith.
Okay, thanks for that. Mr. John.
When these small communities like this start, the biggest thing is water supply. So without water supply, you're not going to have people coming to that community, and well drilling is almost impossible anymore with the lack of well drillers, quality well drillers anyway. And so, I think this is a nice area. I think it's going to grow once they know they have water there. So I don't think the issue of actually getting people to hook up is going to be a big issue. I'll bet if they know that there's water to that property, I think it's going to start moving, and and fill up if it's a good project. I wasn't here to discuss the project itself, but just from experience, I think it's a good quality project that's gonna have some quick growth because of this.
Appreciate those comments. If there's no further comments or discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Drew John, I would recommend that we make the motion to approve the financial assistance resolution 2026-002, the Clay Springs Domestic Water Improvement District.
And Patrice Horstman, I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. No further discussion. We'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 7, recommend for approval financial assistance resolution 2026-007, Town of Prescott Valley. Scott will lead the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The town of Prescott Valley, which is located in the Prescott Active Management Area, is proposing to install an iris infiltration system to enhance water recharge. The proposed project will include the construction and retrofitting of an existing detention basin with the new iris technology in order to evaluate its enhanced water infiltration, impact, and aquifer recharge. The town has no pledged drinking water system revenue debt, but along with this request, the town does have a concurrent application for an SRF loan using the same repayment source. For the past 5 years, the town generated positive net revenue in excess of $2 million. In addition, they have a multi-year rate increase that is effective annually through fiscal year 2028. Based on WIFA's financial projections, Prescott Valley is expected to exceed a 1.2 times debt service coverage requirement, even when considering this loan along with the debt service requirements of the SRF loan that request that is under consideration. The project qualifies as a priority community and pursuant to WIFA procedure is eligible for 60% loan and 40% grant and financial assistance consideration. The project manager was Morgan Burgess and the loan officer was Evan Marsh. I believe we have a borrower's representative, Tracy Lund, Water Resource Advisor, and Neil Wadworth, Utility Director. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks for that outline. Scott, do we have questions for Scott?
I will in a minute. I want to hear what she has to say.
And in abundance of caution, in way of kind of as a more of a disclosure, but I'm not a recusal, but I know that the applicant has been working with a number of different partners, including SRP. I work for SRP, but SRP is not gaining anything out of this project. It's just being a part of a partnership that looking at helping some of the fund of the loan part. So I thought I would disclose that. I don't see that as a recusal, so I won't recuse necessarily from the vote, but I did wanted to put that on a record and probably should have earlier, but wanted to put that out there. We have the applicant here. We have questions for the applicant.
I have a question. What motivated you to do this, for one thing?
Hello, thank you all for allowing me to speak. My name is Tracy Lund. I am the Water Resources Advisor. Basically, I think at this point, everyone knows that Prescott Active Management Area has been in a state of groundwater mining for 25 years now, documented, of course. And I think it's incumbent upon us to try to address that issue in some meaningful way. This is an opportunity for us to test a new technology, to see how efficacious it will be given the really tight clay soils that we have generally throughout the Prescott Valley area, certainly. And we would like to be able to address some of the downdraft that we are helping to impose upon the aquifer. One way potentially to do this is to get water deeper faster during, especially during like monsoon season, because the upper zone within the soils actually slows water down enough that the evaporation actually pulls that water back out of those soils. So you might be getting a bunch of water just sitting just below the surface. It does not get deep because of just how powerful evaporation here is in the desert. So we wanted to be able to try to address some of the issues that have been imposed on the aquifer long-term. So this is going to be a long-term solution potentially, but we want to be able to evaluate the technology before we implement it in a number of different areas around town.
This project really interests me a lot because I think we are lacking the new technology and actually stepping up. And I've always felt that we've lost a lot of water through evaporation in these communities, especially Prescott with the clay cap that they have, that it just set, like you say, explained it very well, sits there and just evaporates, and we lose a lot of water. Evaporation is not all bad, but we need the water.
Yeah.
And so one thing as I was reading this project that I thought was really interesting, that it's going to give us some accurate figures to work with and some in this new technology. And I'm hoping by what you said in here, it is going to collect a lot of data.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Right.
I'm a scientist, I want to make sure that we can back up what we're saying on this technology. It's really an exciting technology, but I think it bears some monitoring and proving up of the claims that are being made. I think if it works, it's going to be fantastic, I think.
That's what I think if it works. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good discussion. I think it's also worth noting that another pilot project we helped fund through the conservation grant, and now this under the Water Supply Development Fund, which I think is a good fit. And another Water Supply Development Fund, we're developing potential water supplies. The other thing of note that I'd put on the record is when we contemplated that first project under the Conservation Fund, I received a lot of calls from around the state, irrigation districts in Pinal County, that were interested in seeing how this technology proved out, because it could be applicable throughout the state, throughout the West. And so if we have a way to more efficiently put that water underground deeper, faster, so it preserves it from getting gobbled up by evaporation, then that could be a potential positive thing for the state. And we can get creative in the ways that we catch that rainwater or runoff or other sources like that. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's a piece of the puzzle. We're trying to gobble up all kinds of ways to save and conserve and enhance water supplies, and this is a piece of that. It's not the end all, but it's certainly a valuable piece in my mind. So it would be helpful to understand what the results yield. So other comments? Yes.
And I think that's what this committee is for, is to be more proactive. I'm new at it, but it's one of the things that I admire about accepting to be on the board and this committee, was that we're looking for ways instead of the old traditional ways of, let's put a dam up and catch it and let half of it evaporate or whatever. And we don't have any statistics to go along with it, any types of things. So it's just, I'm from a valley where we use canal water to irrigate with and on our farms, and they're dirt canals. And it's always the discussion of evaporation and loss. And in certain areas going into the ground and having a clay cap that holds it until it does all evaporate and dry up. So I think it's exciting to have that, but this committee's been proactive by what I've read in the past. And I think it's just a really, really good fit for us being proactive.
Thank you, Mr. John. Other comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Cook.
Quick comment.
Yes, please.
If I stop and think about it, it is pretty exciting to finally, I'll use that word, finally have a serious evaluation of the potential for underground recharge in one of the state's AMAs. And this is, I'm sure there's probably some other things that have been done in the past, but not to my knowledge like this. We got to start somewhere and looking at the technology and to rather than just looking at the geology and giving up and saying there's really no way to do this here, which is what I think the common perception has been for a long time. So this is a great move forward that potentially can make a huge difference in the AMA.
Thank you very much for the comment. And just to react to that, yeah, I mean, we really do need to be more forward thinking and try a few things and try to control our own destiny a little bit. This would be another way to do that potentially, hopefully.
Great. And Patrice has her hand up. Go ahead, Patrice.
Yes, and I agree with the comments made, and I'm very excited about the project and certainly hope that it is as successful as we are hoping it to be. And please share your data because many of us up here can utilize this type of technology for our own communities. So yeah, I think it's an excellent project, and I think this is exactly the kind of project that WIFA is here to support.
Great. Thanks for those comments. And I appreciate pointing out that that is one of our AMAs that maybe doesn't get as much attention as some of the other AMAs in the state. And but the situation is certainly as dire as all the others. So I appreciate you bringing the application forth. Any other comments, questions? If no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, through John, I would make the motion that the Water Supply Development Financial Assistance Resolution 2026-007, Town of Prescott Valley. I'd make the motion that we approve that.
I've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion is second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstain? Motion passes. Thanks for being here. All right, now moving to agenda item 8. This is the recommendation for approval of financial assistance resolution 2026-004, the Voyager at White Mountain Lakes Water Company. Lindsay.
Chair. So we have this application from Voyager at White Mountain Lakes Water Company. They serve a residential community located in unincorporated area of White Mountain Lakes, which is just north of Show Low. They plan to install a backup power generator at well sites, construct a new primary well to add necessary supply, rehabilitate and upgrade existing booster and well sites, rehabilitate all the original pressure and gravity storage tanks, and then complete construction of the distribution system loops. If they have any additional funds remaining from those projects, if they came under budget, they do plan to use the additional funds for additional water line replacement that is needed throughout the service area. WIFA staff did note some managerial concerns in this due diligence since the prior owner failed to complete required annual reports. They had multiple violations with ADQ. However, the new manager has been working to resolve these outstanding issues, and based on this activity, we do anticipate that future managerial performance will be satisfactory. For the financial capability, we noted that only 2 years of the financial data was available due to the unexpected death of the owner in March of 2023. It was a sole owner situation at that time. So, and as noted, the utility was out of compliance and had no billing since December of 2022 and outdated rates at that time. So in August of 2023, the ACC did approve a 24-month emergency surcharge of about $600,000 for urgent repairs and ongoing professional management. which is set to expire in September 2025. The system did have a posted loss of about $100,000 in 2023 due to the compliance cost, but they had an improved situation of a net positive of about 400,000 in 2024 after that surcharge. And they're projecting forward when we anticipate the increase in revenue and expenses increases, they will have about 100,000 in net revenue remaining steady throughout through till 2029. So very limited ability to take on debt and some managerial concerns noted, but nothing significant that prevents this from getting a recommendation from staff for 100% grant for just over $1.9 million. We should have Blake Anderson, Mogollon Water, as the representative available for any questions. And that's all I had for you.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. Any questions for Lindsay? Yes, Mr.
I have
Cook.
one question.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Normally, I would look at a situation like this as an accumulation of deferred maintenance over a long period of time. It's complicated by the fact that there was a sole owner who suddenly passed, it seems. I don't know that neglect or financial neglect really excuses necessary maintenance not being done. But on the other hand, notwithstanding all of that, I think a lot of us will feel that, well, this is the kind of situation that this fund and this committee is really for, is to help out these communities that really don't have any other way of doing what needs to be done. So I'll really just ask it's a yes, no question, because I don't need to get into all the details about any litigation or anything like that, but has the water company now, presumably under new ownership, or may or may not still be owned by the estate of the former owner, explored all recourse to the estate of the former owner for this malfeasance that appears to have occurred?
That I would probably have to see if Blake has any information. All I know, yes, so I can't answer yes or no. I do apologize for that, but I would say, there are bylaws in place. The company is up and running with their management. The estate is the shareholder. Whether or not they're pursuing any type of action against Mr. Cook's estate, I doubt it, because the estate is the owner of the water company at this time. So they'd basically be going after themselves. So I would say answer probably lean toward no. I mean, there's nothing to go definitely to get the money, but that's how we could ask Blake if he has any additional questions, comments.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Blake, if you're available to answer that.
I was just gonna say the same thing. You can't really make a rock bleed. This is the estate's primary asset. And so just to clear up the other creditors that had claims against it, I don't know, they'd be taking money from themselves to pay themselves. There's not other assets to be able to liquidate at this point.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Good questions. Do we have other questions, comments? Do we have other comments or questions for the applicant, Blake, while he's on? I do appreciate you walking through sort of the history, and it does feel like they're trying to rectify some of those things that frankly neglect of the system, but appreciate the staff outlining that, and I don't know if Blake, if you had anything to add to the history and where we're at.
I would just say personally, there aren't a lot of other avenues besides grants that they can take on. Going for SRF and taking on debt can affect the sale and the transfer of the assets. And so that's why we haven't pursued SRF funding. But the community itself is quite low income, disadvantaged, as we would qualify them. Median household income is like $37,000, and they've been it's the community that's been paying for all of the rates to this point. The emergency surcharge raised their rates, I want to say 200% over the top of what was already established. And so personally, you know, empathetically, I would like to see as much funding go back in this community because they've been dealing with this chronic underinvestment and they're beholden to utility to make those improvements, you know, and so I don't think it's clear put those costs back on the community all of a sudden because it was deferred for so long. But I agree with Mr. Cook's assessment. I think that's accurate. It should have been done over a period of decades. So,
Great. Thanks for that, for the clarification. There's no other comments or discussion. I'd entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Drew John, I'll make the motion that we approve the water supply development financial assistance resolution 2026-004 Voyager at White Mountain Lakes Water Company.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Jonathan. I will second that.
Got a motion is second. Motion made by Drew John, second by Jonathan Lyons. There's no further discussion. We'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Agenda item 9, this is recommend for approval financial assistance resolution 2026-005 Yuma County. Scott will take us through the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yuma County is seeking funding to install 4 water easy electromagnetic field bridge systems at JV Farms locations to address significant challenges related to the high water salinity levels in agriculture irrigation practices. According to the applicant, salinity in irrigation water forces grow to allocate roughly 25% of their water supply solely for salt leaching. By reducing water salinity and minimizing leaching requirements, the Water East EMF program hopes to enhance water availability and efficiency for crop irrigation. The project qualifies as a priority community and pursuant to WIFA procedure is eligible for 60% loan, 40% grant, and financial assistance. In this case, the applicant did not provide a debt authority prior to the Water Supply Development Committee, hoping the application would score initially as 100% grant eligible. If this project is recommended for loan funding by the committee, the applicant will be required to obtain a debt authority prior to presentation of the project to the board. Yuma County did indicate that they would use general fund revenue as the resort repayment source, and this financial analysis is based on that pledge. General fund revenue grew at 6.72%, while expenditures rose just under 9% over the 5-year historical review period. And the funds available for debt servicing increased slightly from 32.6 million to just over 33 million in 2024. And the county has no active WIFA loans, but holds 2 revenue bonds that are secured by general fund revenue. Including these bonds, forecasted general fund revenue available for debt repayments projected to be at 29.3 million. And that's a 4.11 debt service coverage in fiscal year 2029. Based on coverage, the county does show the capacity to take on the additional debt payments required for this project. The project manager was Lindsay Mills. The loan officer was Channing Lester. And I believe we have available Matt McGuire, JV Farms, Veronica Garcia, the Yuma County Grants Administrator, and Tal Fahy from Water Ease.
Great. Thanks for running through that. Staff, do we have questions for staff? And it looks like we do have the applicant here willing to speak on it. If you go ahead, we can give you a few minutes to talk about it, to add to what has been said.
Well, thank you for having me and we appreciate it.
And if you can just state your name for the record.
My name is Paul Farhi. I'm the founder and CEO of WaterEase LLC. We are the providers of this wonderful technology. If I may, I'd like to just read a few things to address what Scott was referring to and bringing what John said also, the proactiveness of this committee, this organization for the state has been absolutely incredible. I want to thank you all for your dedication to advancing water infrastructure solutions as evidenced in last year's successful WIFA funded project that you guys approved for Yuma County and Mellon Farms, where we installed our devices in 3 locations, 18 devices, and has been very successful. The produce, the yields have been better, and more importantly, the salts have been reduced, which enables the team at Mellon Farms and future farmers to use much less water. In the case of JV Farms, I have Matt McGuire also available. He's on the Zoom. He is the chief agronomist for JV Farms. And again, I want to congratulate the WIFA team for making a good decision last year and being proactive with the Mellon Farms project. With respect to the reconsideration of what we are talking about here, we did receive a score of 170 points from the total of 440. We were a little surprised because we thought we were going to get 100% grant funding. We would like to address that to have you reconsider the 100% grant funding option rather than the 60-40 loan opportunity right now. And I would like to bring up the evaluation of the MHI. The current evaluation used was the Yuma County wide median household income based on 2022 census of 52,000, give or take, which does not reflect the economic realities of the rural communities of Roll, Tacna, Somerton, and Welton. Some of you guys have been there. They're small communities with under 1,000 people living there and mainly farm workers or farming community. These communities averaged an MHI of $43,302, about an $8,700 difference from the countywide basis. And from the state MHI of $72,581, which would have actually qualified us for the 70 points to be able to get the 100% grant funding. So I'm urging the committee to reconsider using the local MHI to better align with the project's direct impact on these smaller rural communities rather than the overall Yuma County. The other thing that we received 0 points on, which was quite interesting, was the application received 0 points for its preliminary engineering report. It's was done by a gentleman by the name of Don Slack, a professional agricultural engineer and a former University of Arizona professor and staff member. We basically are using the same exact technology as we did for Mellon Farms, which it is working. And we are using the same engineered materials design. So it's identical to the setup that we had with Mellon Farms. It just happens to be 4 bridges with 8 devices in each bridge. I think Mr. John mentioned he worked with a lot of canal irrigation. These bridges are over a canal, and then our devices sit in the water as the water passes through. It electrifies the water, breaks down the hydrogen bond, and creates a situation where the salt load is a non-issue, making the salt clusters much smaller. They evaporate or absorb into the ground at a much faster pace and create a leaching process where the salts are now pushed down beneath the root zone in a much faster pace, eliminating the evaporation, and more importantly, taking that 25% that Mr. McGuire annually uses in a massive amount of water to reduce salts. And this is something that can be replicated across all the valley and all across the state where irrigation is 78% of the water use in Arizona. I think Yuma is 18% of fresh water in all of the state is being used in Yuma. So it's a really important project and a really important solution to implement for these farmers because they are using the most water than anyone else. And by helping them, it would be a tremendous opportunity to see that. So the feasibility of the project is proven as it's been. I think it's almost a year to the day that we installed these 18 devices at Mellon Farms with no issues whatsoever from the technology standpoint, from an engineering standpoint, materials, everything's working, and they saw a reduction just most recently of one of the plots had 110% reduction in EC measurements. The others were between 50 and 60, and that will continue to get better with multiple watering cycles and multiple seasons. Mr. Mellon also told me yesterday to please mention that although he has not saved water yet, he will now continue to see water savings because he's not going to have to leach as much going forward because the ground and the soil is much healthier. Another item that, again, created this low score, which we want you guys to really look at the opportunity to reconsider, is the water demand criteria. This project applicant utilizes the Yuma Water Association as their water delivery provider, and there has been documented calendar. There's a schedule in the calendar that 3 days, I believe, out of the year, they do not get any water. One of the criteria in the application was if the applicant does not have water for more than 24 hours, it would have gained some points in that criteria.
Sorry, I appreciate that. I've actually let you gone on more than I typically would. So if you can wrap up and we can, if the committee has questions, we can ask you follow-ups.
No problem. Yeah, so just to wrap up real quick, the demand, near-term, long-term, with the water demand section of the application, there are obviously studies. George Frisvold from U of A mentioned how important it is, and there are obviously opportunities to conserve water, but excuse me, you got me off there for a second. All right. So, the opportunity to create this type of reduction in the demand, coupled with the success that we've had with Mellon Farms with their salinity reduction, can alleviate a lot of the pressure on the water supplies, long-term reliability, protecting Yuma's agriculture economy from crop losses. So just to recap everything, we think that by providing this type of technology to JV farms, that will enable him to reduce the amount of water he uses, reinvest those savings, higher yield, reinvest the profitability in those local communities, and enhance the lives of the people at the local level, because that was one of the criteria that WIFA said, that how are we directly affecting them? Why should we use that MHI in Roll, Tacna, Welton, or Somerton, but not the overall? Because as you guys know, not everyone in Yuma is at that 52,000 median household.
Appreciate that explanation. Do we have follow-up questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
This might be more of a question to the staff.
Okay.
Now that I started to thinking about this, since the applicant is requesting that the committee consider a number of things, including reevaluating the scoring based on a number of factors. The one question that comes to mind for me in particular with respect to water usage and demand, and I wish I had been able to read this application with this in mind, because I hadn't thought of it yet. And it would depend on where the irrigation is taking place in Yuma County. But the leaching of having to use more water to leach the salts from the soil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that, maybe not all of it, but a lot of that will reappear as return flow. So I'm wondering how was that taken into account in the estimates of how much water is actually being saved? And with respect to water that's being saved, I heard the word reinvest. Is that being then that's that same water being used for other crops. Is there really a savings from this, or is it just an increase in efficiency of irrigation? But at the end of the day, diversion, the consumptive use for these irrigators is remaining the same.
That is my understanding of the project, that it would be a more efficient use of the water. But the diversions would remain the same. But I'm not sure if I missed the first part of
No,
your
I
question.
think you answered my question.
Any other comments, questions for either staff or? I would make note, and staff, you can comment it. It does seem like the MHI issue is consistent across the state, particularly in rural Arizona, and it's unfortunate. But a lot of communities have experienced that with the census and especially with the census happening in COVID, and they didn't get the response that they wanted, and it feels like, I know that there are a lot of areas where that's just that is just the way it is, and a lot of communities are dealing with that, and that's a hard one to overcome, because it takes time and resources and money to do new surveys and things like that. But I guess I'm just making note that we've heard that from a lot of communities. Sometimes that number isn't quite fair, but.
Mr. Chair, there is a request to speak from Veronica Garcia representing Yuma County.
All right, we'll go to her then.
Hello, good afternoon. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Veronica.
Oh, hello. Good morning. Well, I'm Veronica Garcia. I'm the grants administrator here with the Yuma County, and I just wanted to thank the staff, with all the work that they've done, with this application. I know we also have been going back and forth on this, and we appreciate the recommendation. And as Tal mentioned, we were really looking forward to a 100% grant on this application. And this is an application that Yuma County put forward in collaboration with, the JB Farms and Wateries to, continue on our work in water conservation in Yuma County. I know, like Tal mentioned, we have a couple of other projects that we implemented last year for, we're actually still implementing one on water conservation with Yuma County. So we just wanted to continue our work on that. And I just wanted to, thank you all for your recommendation and all your hard work. But, just that's basically what I wanted to provide information on.
Thank you, Veronica. Appreciate that information.
Chairman, I got a question.
Yes, Mr. John.
This technology, interesting stuff. What's the maintenance like on this equipment on Wateries?
We offer a 3-year warranty, but it's a very simple system to maintain. There are no moving parts. It is solar powered in certain areas because they don't have electric power, but it has a lifespan of 15 to 20 years, given the parts. And the equipment is made to withstand a lot of heat, but it is enclosed in secured metal boxes, like a toolbox, and so it's fairly easy to maintain, and just gotta keep an eye on the batteries and the solar panels to make sure they're clean and not dusty. So the farmers and the management teams usually go out there once a week and clean, make sure there's no bird droppings, et cetera, that can minimize the solar. But fairly simple.
Is there water in the canal all the time there?
And can you make sure your mic is on? I'm not sure. Your mic might have turned off.
On screen.
Okay, great. Just hold it maybe a little closer to your mouth, I think.
Sometimes there is no water. The systems are on 24/7. whether there's water in them or not. But once water is flowing through them, obviously it treats the water.
Give me an idea. Just curious. Sorry to take up your time.
No, that's good questions.
So we would love.
I realize, that, the applicant is asking for, consideration on something apart from what staff is, suggested here. I don't know if anyone wants to ask any questions on that, or if not, I'm happy to entertain a motion as well. Staff, what the other project that we've funded has been the melon farms. What fund did that come out of?
That was from the Water Conservation Grant Fund.
Yeah. And that's a little bit different, and I think that that's important to put out there because that fund was different, had a little bit different criteria and parameters around it, and given the nature of the Water Supply Development Fund, some of that has changed, and so I know that where some receive full grants in the Conservation Fund, the criteria is such where we can't or doesn't, come to the same way in the Water Supply Development Fund.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve as is the Water Supply Development Financial Assistance Resolution 2026-005 Yuma County. Mr. John.
Mr. John has a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Pete Kim. I'll second that.
In seconds. Motion is second. If there's no further discussion, we'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained?
Jonathan abstained.
Mr. Lyons abstains. Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll move to agenda item 10, recommendation for approval, financial assistance resolution 2026-001, Payson Unified School District. Scott.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is one of the projects that you've seen before, so I will do a brief recap. Payson Unified School District is requesting school and financial assistance to install new turf for community use football field with the expectation to improve the reliability and redundancy for the water system. The applicant anticipates a savings of nearly 3.4 million gallons of water per year based on the planned reduction in the water currently used to maintain the grass field. In addition, the water district that supplies the school with reclaimed water, Green Valley Water Project, will be able to redistribute the saved water to benefit neighboring communities. The applicant also explains that this project will reduce the amount of water delivered from the C.C. Cragen Reservoir. Based on water supply development procedures, this project qualifies for 60% loan, 40% grant and financial assistance, and the borrower qualifies as a priority community. The district currently maintains a general fund bond rating of AA2 through Moody's. And over the 5-year projected period, factoring in an annual 2% revenue increase and 6% expense increase, will achieve a debt service coverage between 1.75 and 14.56. The latter being because some current debt will be maturing. The district also maintains a debt service fund that is funded by property taxes and tuition in amounts necessary to provide the required payments on the debt as they come due. And based on coverage, the district does show the capacity to take on the additional debt payments required for this project. The project manager was Lindsay Mills, the loan officer is Anthony Noguera, and Representative Ashley Brownlee, Grants Management Coordinator.
Great.
And she is here.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott? We do have the applicant. I'll give you a few minutes to add on if you have anything else to add, or we could just ask questions of you.
Yeah, I think he pretty much covered that part. I just wanted to maybe add that, we did follow through with everything very quickly. And I just wanted you guys to maybe put that in your mind that we did do everything that we were supposed to do and followed every step along the way.
Great. Thank you for that. Do we have questions for the applicant or comments, discussion on this one?
I got a question. Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
please.
Sorry, I asked a lot of questions. It says community football field. So the Pop Warner and all of those are able to use the field.
Yes, so we have a Pop Warner League. We also have a tribe, a Toner Apache tribe. They host things on our football field as well. Do you?
It's truly a community.
Cool. Sometimes they say that and they don't mean it, but that's what I'm thinking. I appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah. It's our superintendent.
It's great. A lot of times in the small towns that the school opens up their facilities to the communities for stuff that's, broader than just the school district. And that certainly is the case in Payson. So that's great to hear.
And some don't.
And some don't. And Patricia, you got your hand up.
Just a question, what's the lifespan on that artificial turf for the football field?
I put in there, it's 8 to 10 years.
Thank you.
Great question.
Another question.
Yes.
Is
Mr. John.
it just the football field you're doing?
Yes, sir.
Other comments, questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Drew, John, I'll go ahead and make the motion that the Water Supply Development Financial Assistance Resolution 2026-001 Payson Unified School District be approved.
Got a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Horseman seconds.
Thank you, guys.
No further discussion. We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11, recommendation for approval of financial assistance resolution 2026-003 Havasu Heights Domestic Water Improvement District. Scott.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Havasu Heights DWID is seeking just over 1.5 million in water supply development financial assistance to add a new 150,000 gallon permanent tank next to their current 250,000 gallon tank, and then to recoat the larger tank. The recoating project was approved for financial assistance under an SRF loan in 2021, but no draws have been taken because the new 150,000 gallon tank needs to be completed in order to provide the water storage capacity for they can take down the larger tank and then recoat it. The request also includes funding for new distribution lines from all three of the wells to the tanks to help with the distribution of chlorine. The DWID has not taken a distribution from the original SRF loan as mentioned, as they waited on subsequent design and engineering work that ultimately resulted in the decision to make the additional of the second tank a permanent addition. Even though they have not taken a disbursement, the DWID has been current with making the amortized principal payments required under the existing loan contract. The de-obligation and incorporate of the SRF project loan into the water supply development request would save the DWID about $4,500 a year. Historically, the DWID met the SRF required 1.2 times debt coverage in only one of the 3 years where a loan payment was due. But for the other 2 years, it fell below the requirement due to extraordinary design and engineering expenses related to the new tank. A rate increase was implemented in fiscal year 2023, which did increase revenues, but still fell below the required debt service coverage in 2023 and 2024. WIFA staff has informed the DWID that the Water Supply Development Grant loan would not be able to close until they can provide WIFA with a resolution demonstrating either through a rate increase, a series of rate increases, or other additional pledge that they will meet the projections sufficient to make a 1.2 times debt service coverage by the time the payments begin in fiscal year 2028. Furthermore, WIFA will require this action be completed prior to October 31st of 2025. And if not, the grant funds would be forfeited and returned back to the Water Supply Development Fund pool. The project qualifies as a priority community and pursuant to WIFA procedure is eligible for a 60-40 grant financial assistance consideration. And we have Morgan Burgess was the project manager, Evan Marsh was the loan officer, Jacqueline Moore, the manager, should be online, as well as Bill Fisher, one of the board members.
Great, thank you. Before we go to the applicant, any questions for Scott? Well, I'll just ask you how some of those stipulations, how did, what was the applicant's response? Are they okay with that? We can ask them too, but.
In earlier discussions, they understood that they needed to do an additional rate increase or do something to do that. So we are just, in order to present it to this meeting and get it moving forward, we wanted to put that out. And then so I haven't heard back lately on the exact approach they're going to take. But we do know, we do have communicated to them that this would be in the requirements, and they can probably speak to that as well.
Great, thanks. Is the applicant available, and would you like to speak to that or add anything?
Hi, yes, this is Bill Fisher. I'm a board member with the Water District in Havasu Heights.
Great. Hi, Bill.
And thank you. Appreciate you guys having me here today. We do understand the stipulations for needing to increase our rates, and we are, the whole board supports that to get this project pushed forward. Part of our concern was not knowing if we would be approved for the loan. We didn't want to raise rates on our community without having the reasons to pay back the loan. So we've been kind of in a catch-22 trying to hold off on making the increases, and also understanding that the loan has a 3-year draw period, and so that we don't need the income immediately. So we're trying to just balance the financial needs with our customers. Any questions about that?
Great, no, that's helpful.
Okay, and we do believe we can make the deadline to get the increase completed before the deadline.
Okay. Do we have other questions for the applicant or for staff? I'd entertain a motion.
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
Ted Cook, I recommend that the committee adopt Financial Assistance Resolution 2026-003, Havasu Heights Domestic Water Improvement District.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Drew John, I'll second that.
Drew John seconds. Call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passed. All right, now we'll move to agenda item 12. Recommend for approval of Financial Assistance Resolution 2026-006, the Blue Ridge Domestic Water Improvement District. Scott.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Blue Ridge Domestic Water Improvement District is proposing to replace all existing water meters within their service area with new electronic units to reduce labor costs associated with manual meter reading and improve the accuracy of water use and monitoring and reporting. Blue Ridge DWID has one SRF loan with WIFA from 2021 that was used to fund the purchase of Starlight Water Company, which was acquired in September 2023. Starlight Water's Pre-acquisition performance showed negative cash flows in both fiscal year 2021 and 2022. After the acquisition, the debt service coverage increased, going from a 0.95 times in 2024 to a little over 3% in 2025. The improvement was related to significant rate increases by the DWID's board and management to meet loan covenants and to allow for future improvements. Factoring in the current SRF payments along with this proposed water supply development loan, the DWID is projected to meet the requirements ranging from a 1.67 times coverage to a 2.4 times coverage over the projected period. Pursuant to WIFA procedure, this project is eligible for 100% loan consideration. The project manager was Morgan Burgess. The loan officer was Evan Marsh, and I do see in the audience Mike Bourne, district manager, and Tom Osterday, the chairman, should be online.
Great. We've got any questions for Scott?
Question from Patrice.
Patrice, you got your hand up?
Yes, and if I may, obviously the DWID is its own municipal corporation. However, they are overseen by the Coconino County Board of Supervisors. This is within Coconino County, and so I'm just, I don't think this meets the requirement for a conflict, but I am going to abstain from this for an appearance of impropriety.
Very good. Thanks for that. Other comments, questions? Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I'll just note, Mr. Chair, that this is actually the first 100% loan of the program, which is kind of exciting. And a few of you may have noticed that this is, as Lindsay mentioned, one of the projects that is below that double black line that we have on our list. I think there have been a couple of times in the past when we've said, we won't bring you any of those until we've worked through everything that's above it. That's in the grant context. So because this does not have a grant aspect to it, approving it today would not disadvantage any of our applicants that are above that line. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yep, that makes sense. I appreciate that. I'd entertain a motion on this one. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. I move that the committee adopt financial assistance resolution 2026-006 Blue Ridge Domestic Water Improvement District.
Pete Kim, second.
Mr. Cook makes a motion. Mr. Kim makes a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have the one abstained. Thank you. Well, that gets us through all of the applications. So we'll go to the agenda item 13. Do we have any public comment?
No request to speak, Mr. Chair.
No requests. Then that means we'll go to item 14, agenda development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So want to say, first of all, thank you to all of our applicants who joined us either online or in person. We appreciate you very much making the trip down. All of the applications that the committee recommended for approval here today will be placed on the board agenda for August 20th. Before I get that wrong, let me check my calendar, but I believe that is in fact the date. Yes, August 20th will be the WIFA board meeting. So that's when these will be presented for final approval. Other than that, we've heard a few things from you today in regards to the resolution that you passed about making sure we bring that new scoring application to you with enough time for you to debate it and make sure it is robust enough and reflects what you want. So that is what we will plan.
Great. That sounds great. Any other suggestions from the committee? Do we have any other items for future agenda topics? Sounds good. All right, then we'll and go to the next agenda item, which is the next meeting, which we talked about.
Yep, so the board will meet on August 20th, and then I would say this committee, and I did run this by Lindsay before I'm committing her to it, but the idea would be probably a September meeting where this committee hears those additional outstanding projects, a November meeting with some more projects, and then a first glance at that new scoring and application, and then a December meeting to approve that new scoring and application, and then also deal with any latecomer applications. So that's probably the timeline we're looking at. Please be on the lookout from Yolanda or Brenda, a poll on your availability in September.
Okay, that sounds great.
Question on that.
Yes, Mr. John.
Do we want to have the committee meeting prior to the December commission meeting to
Ye-
approve what we did?
Yes, I think that would be, and that's what I'm looking at in September and November as well, making sure we have those meetings before the board meets so that we can deal with those applications effectively and quickly, not have to wait till the first.
Great point. All right, well, if there's nothing else, it's 10:29 and we'll adjourn the meeting of the Water Supply Development Committee.
Thank you.
10:29. I don't know what I said.
You said 10.
Oh, okay. Second guess myself.
Right.